Hey, g'day guys, it's Kristen Harper here, and welcome to the Rosebank Leadership Series. In this series, I'm talking to some of the business leaders in the Rosebank area, just sharing their insights and really what's been happening in the last couple of months with COVID-19. And as of today, we are at level 2, which is great. So hopefully it means business is going to get back to normal or some normality based on what's been going on. But look, today I'm talking to Stefan Crooks, who is the Managing Director of the Westie Group. So, Stefan, welcome, mate. Glad to have you on. If you could just give us a wee bit of an introduction and a wee bit of your background and really how it's prepared you for what we've been going through.
Good question, isn't it? Good question. Okay, well, as Chris has said, I'm Stefan Crooks, the Managing Director of Westie Food Group. Also, I'm a shareholder in DJs, which is a school business heavily affected, and Blacklock and Francis, which is an importation company, which is not been as affected, but I'll explain that in brief. So I've been out west here now since I moved to Auckland 21 years ago. Most of you who do know me, I'm a good family man, love my community, and love getting involved, especially in events like sport, schools that are all around kids. So I chair the Donald Oliver Youth Foundation. I sit on the RBA itself, also involved in the Pathways Youth with the RBA, and also sit on an SLG, which is a strategic leaders group with healthy families for Waitakere sport. So I'm what you'd commonly call a sucker for punishment. But I enjoy, my thirst is watching other people become successful. So through a little bit of my own success, I've been able to watch, hundreds, if not thousands of people out west become successes in their own right. So good family man, been married almost 27 years.
Oh, wow.
With two wonderful kids who are 23 and 21. One's a builder and one's a teacher in Rosebank. So she's in Rosebank Primary. So both fantastic contributors, to the community. So good solid foundation. So a happy man even at difficult times, So.
Yeah, hey, that's great, and I think it's interesting being on those different boards now because it'll give you quite a different perspective or an overall perspective, especially when it comes to business and especially with your people. And we're talking earlier, and you're saying that I guess there's been some of things going up, and then some of those some of the business sort of going down a wee bit. Tell me, how are you? I wouldn't say coping with it, but how are you dealing with that from a business point of view?
Yeah, it's interesting. So Westie as a business through the short period of time of COVID has maintained or slightly grown through the period, but that's had its own issues because we've had to reduce 30% of our staff to maintain our 100% of our business. So I've got a whole lot of people who are at home on garden leave. They're getting paid. Don't get me wrong. So they're doing really well, and they're looking forward to being integrated back to work as we go through the various levels. So level 4, we were 30% down. Level 3, we were still 30% down. Level 2, we're going to be, say, 20 to 30, only 20% down. So people are starting to come back as at today that haven't been here for 8 weeks. So we're having to reintegrate them because of the learning curve that we've been through over the last 8 weeks. So it's kind of that bipolar effect. 1 minute we're okay, next minute we're having to re-educate. So it's every single day that we're having to convince people that what used to happen at the end of March no longer happens anymore, and that they need to embrace the new because the new is what's going to lead us forward, which is kind of critical. And then, I had a business that went from turning over 10 million to zero. That had 200 people. And in brief, the little story, this is a really cool little story. I was actually, we weren't really sure what we were going to do on the Tuesday prior to COVID, other than I was actually driving to that business to make 200 people redundant because at that stage I had no income, and I had no thought process of where I was, how I was going to get these people out or keep these people afloat. Yeah. So within 15 minutes of having a bit of a power discussion with key leaders within their business, we'd worked out that we could, where possible, use the subsidy to keep us afloat for at least 4 weeks, with the view to maybe taking it longer. So we then all agreed that we would run the subsidy and that we lost no one within the business.
That's
so those
great.
200 people in that business, whilst we've had no income, have remained there. As at Monday, they're all gearing. So out of those 200, 70 of them are gearing to come back to work, to go into the schools to do their stuff.
That's great.
If we hadn't had that conversation, robust conversation within that 15 minutes prior to making the wrong call, we wouldn't have made the right call. So it was quite an emotional 15 minutes, and it was an emotional delivery to 200 staff, which is kind of amazing. But what they then did was power me to come back to my business within Westie and say to them, what we've got here now is we've got friends and family that are unemployed.
Yes.
And we've got friends and family that are employed. Now, how do we actually work together to actually then vertically integrate? So I'll give you an example. I spent $1 million on freight, and then I had a whole lot of trucks sitting in my business not doing anything. So now they're supplying me a service I'd either get from somebody else. Now, I didn't want to affect that core customer who serviced me for so long. So rather than taking all of that business off, I gave myself 10% of that. I told them, they agreed, they understood while I was trying to keep all businesses afloat. So rather than losing 100% of their business, they lost 10, but it helped me generate some income to keep my other 200 employed. So, pretty crazy times, because every single day life changes between 3 to 10 times a day, whether it is a human change, a customer change, a contract change, a supply change. And each time you go through that, rather than resenting it, we now stop and have these little micro planning meetings. Okay, I know Bernie. I love Bernie's Power of the Hour, but at the end of the day, 60 seconds is a micro version of an hour, and it's amazing the conversation you can have in 60 seconds. It's amazing the results that you can have. And I suppose one thing that's helped all three businesses, including the export business, is the fact that we have a fairly clear vision, a fairly clear mission, and some solid values that we're not going to trade. And we share those quite regularly around the bizzo, so that it's our go-to. So when we're feeling down and out, or we think we're broken, or we're not going to be able to fix something, we go straight back to that really simple mission. What are we here for? To provide New Zealand affordable meal solutions. Okay, that's our job. Let's make sure we focus in on that. And that's what's our vision? We want to be seen as number one. So sorry.
No, and that's awesome to hear that you guys live by your values, because a lot of companies sort of talk about that. But the fact that that's your go-to and you back up and you actually live by that, I think is great, because it's testament to, how you're sort of getting creative with the other businesses and looking at how they can all work with each other. And it must have been really challenging. As you said, 15 minutes, just to let all those staff know. But it's bloody awesome that, you've made it work within what within the situation that you're in. So that's really cool to hear. And just finally, Stefan, is there any key bit of advice for any other leaders out in the Rosebank area that are going through, we're all going through similar but different challenges? Is there any key sort of bit of advice you'd like to give?
Yeah, one of the things we didn't talk about earlier that has been it's not a Groundhog Day moment, but it's more of a moment where don't have a conversation about what we know. Challenge what we don't know, and challenge what that may look like, because that will provide us a basis to put a plan and a vision together, so that we can then go, this is where we're going. So road mapping is one thing from old. Road mapping today is talk about the stuff you don't know, not the stuff you do know, and challenge it, and say, we never did it this way because, well, why don't we have a go at doing it this way?
Yes.
I
think that's great, because you're right. We're in uncharted waters now, and it's about challenging the old model of what things were and actually, creating something new. But Stefan, I really appreciate your time, mate. Thank you very much, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you.
Cool. Cheers.